to focus. It doesn't matter cause you live a lie. You want attention from every guy in the park, but when you call, give you my heart, you rip it out. I can't pretend to like you, I hope you feel the same. I take a chance and not lose. I can't pretend to like you, I can't pretend to like you. I hope you feel the same. I take a chance and not lose. I can't pretend to like you, I can't pretend to like you. I hope you feel the same. I take a chance and not lose. I can't pretend to like you.
We had a very attacking first series between Elevate and Ferox. Moving on now to our second series of the night between LFO and Pittsburgh Knights. I'm joined again, of course, by the lovely Dev. As it's been so attacking. Dev, you got any attacking for me?
Rawr.
Attack me with no. I was going to say like attack
I
me
don't
with
know,
some
that was a bit
stats or
weird.
something, you know, like some analytics.
Attack you with some stats. Well, I literally just closed the tab for last game, so I would tell you how many rounds if I hadn't just closed the tab. So sorry about that one.
That's okay. That's okay. Of course, for those at home, keep up to date with the socials down below. Get voting in the polls as well. A lot in the last poll vote, not quite on the correct side. 60% choosing Elevate in the end. 1-1 series draw between Elevate and Ferox. Moving forward though, now onto LFO Knights coming up. Very interesting between these two teams that are really both around the same mark in terms of the leaderboard.
Yeah, very much so. These two teams and Ferox are all really strongly competing for that fourth spot, which is a playoffs spot. Top four go to playoffs. So these teams are really vying neck and neck, and that means that those head-to-head ratios, those head-to-head performances matter even more. So this is a huge match with a lot on the line.
Let's go have a look at the LFO lineup that they're playing with. Angmo, Sogs, Hills, Nasty Mims, Enigma the coach. They've been meeting or maybe even beating expectations this season of Six Masters. And I hope for their sake that they're not LFO for, you know, too much longer, because these boys have been performing very well.
I mean, it's crazy to think that these guys came through the open qualifier, for which they didn't actually lose a series. They made through that bracket nice and easy. And then they faced Elevate, TBD, and Wildcard, the top 3 seeded teams in the league, and they have won a map against each of those teams. That is nuts. These guys, if you like dark horses, if you like underdog stories, these guys are your team to go for.
I do like me some dark horses, but I'm also a fan of Knights as well. We got the Pittsburgh Knights, who are fresh off and thumping of Kanga last week. 7-2, 7-2 on Clubhouse and Kafe. These guys are bringing some form into this matchup against LFO.
Yeah, they had a great performance against Sinister the week prior to that as well. A draw of maps, and the same against Ferox the week prior. So these guys have only dropped 2 maps so far in this series, and I know that there's a lot of there's a bit of a rivalry between these teams. We've got Knights and LFO, so I'm particularly keen to see how this one plays out. I know there's going to be a lot of hearts ready, passionate to support either of these sides, and of course, whoever comes out ahead in this matchup is likely to edge out that way on the leaderboards and puts themselves in a much better position of making playoffs.
Certainly agree, as we'll eventually make our way towards the maps and how that's going to play out between these two teams. I mean, I was looking at the notes that you so lusciously prepared, and what's interesting and what has stood out the most is Clubhouse and Kafe both performing very well on those two maps, which I personally want to see because I love those two maps the most, and they were both ironically banned out in the last series.
Yeah, particularly Clubhouse, I would love to see since LFO's been so good and defeated 7-2 Elevate, 7-5 Wildcard. I want to see these two teams go at it there.
Yeah, so we're going to see our bands first up, and well, there's going to be Villa and Coastline. I'm actually a little bit surprised potentially from the Villa of Pittsburgh, but they haven't been performing well on it. I guess they don't want any surprise picks from LFO.
Yeah, and guess what? Clubhouse is still in. Surely one of these teams is going to pick it. Knights do get the first pick here. If I'm just going to do a bit of speculating, Knights are good at Clubhouse. They're good at Kafe as well, as you mentioned. Maybe LFO, a bit more mixed results on Kafe. So if I'm Knights, I'm probably going to go to Kafe. I feel like that'll probably be Knights' pick. And then hopefully LFO picks Club, and then we get both of them. That would just be awesome.
Let's have a look at this pick. I'm spot on the money here, Kafe and Clubhouse. Look at that. I don't think I'm ever gonna. Well, you've peaked. I've peaked in my first broadcast. I got them both right. But
I'll give you a little golf clap.
Yeah, no. I've started at the top, and now I've got to make my way back.
It's all downhill from here, mate.
It is. Kafe picked by Knights. Clubhouse picked by LFO. They're both actually fresh off a Clubhouse win. I feel more confident probably in the Knights pick for Kafe. To be honest, I feel like that's going to be stronger for them, more so than like LFO having an advantage on Clubhouse.
Yeah, for Kafe, I'm just going to dwell there for a minute because LFO, they've played it quite a few times. They played it in against TBD. They lost 4-7. And prior to that, they've got 4 victories, but those were all against not tier 1 teams, not 6 Masters level teams. They played in the open qualifier to get here. They beat a team called Euro twice on, and they beat another team called PC419 who plays in the LPL leagues. But they have yet to beat one of these top level teams like the Knights. So this is going to be a big proving ground for LFO on Kafe. Have they fixed up their Kafe? Are they going to be competitive? Otherwise, Knights going to be pretty good on that one. Clubhouse, total bloodbath, can go either way.
Well, let's see what you guys at home think how this series is going to play out, and that is a lot more closer than the Elevate Ferox poll vote. 37% to LFO, 39% to Pittsburgh. You really can't split that much more. I think that might be one of the closest poll votes we've actually had this season of Six Masters.
Yeah, you might be right on that one, man. That's a close one. And look, I put my money on, well, not literally, but I would put my wage, if I had one, on the draw. Because I feel like that's where it's going to end up here. That said, if LFO come out strong on Kafe, I can see them taking the series 2-0, but I don't want to count out Knights. They're a really strong team, had a couple hiccups, and they've been devastated when they did. I know when they lost to Sinister, when they lost to Ferox, really, really devastated. And these guys have a huge amount of potential. Fresh off a win last week, like you said. I totally think Knights could do it as well.
I think the draw is probably the safer option rather than going one way or the other. And that is indicative of how this series potentially could play out between LFO and Knights as we head into Kafe to kickstart the second series of the night. LFO and Pittsburgh Knights going to battle it out on Knights' first map pick.
I'm keen for this, Xenox. We get to see how these teams have developed. As you mentioned, fresh off a win last week is Knights, a 7-2 against Kanga. And, well, LFO last time they played this was 2 weeks ago against TBD, and they lost that 4-7. LFO is going to start strong and bold with a Thermite ban, getting rid of one of those hard breaches. Might see a Thatcher or Maverick in reply. Oh, this is going to get spicy. Maverick and Thermite banned out, leaving the only remaining hard breach as Hibana. Really, Knights are just doubling down on this one.
I was going to say, there's no ace just yet, obviously. Those who have seen the reveal.
Yeah, well, who knows what'll happen when that finally makes it into comp. But, I mean, another thing to mention with those two hard breach bans, we actually have the Thatcher still on the board, which is going to make it a lot easier to clear out stacked utility like ADSs and Wamai discs. And in fact, no ban on the Jaeger, the Wamai, or the Maestro, or the Echo. So just that Valkyrie banned out at the end there, which will suppress somewhat of the information gathering from Knights. Well, I guess from both of these teams, but LFO who banned it, so they're the ones who have decided they'd like to make that play. But man, I love seeing that double hard breach ban. It's gonna make it really spicy. A lot of potential for bandit tricking in particular, maybe some Kaid tricking. Going downstairs first up, heals on the bandit. I find it really unlikely that Strider is going to get these walls open unless if maybe Knights take top control and start to pressure LFO vertically.
And it does mean the Ying, while not used at the moment, is available again, as we saw on border.
Yeah, great point. And, I mean, it wasn't consistently the ultimatum for the rounds that played out on border. It was definitely a strong factor that Shade utilized well for Ferox. I do like this decision just straight up from LFO to going bottom floor first. A lot of the time we might say, oh, it's just to throw them off, but I think that with these bans, the kitchen service bomb site's actually potentially stronger than bar. Mainly because of the lack of the thermite and the lack of the Maverick means you only have 3 Hibana pellets to open up hard breach. And that means you've got to decide, do you want to open the hatch? Do you want to open the garage walls into freezer? Do you want to open some of the walls of prep? What about the main bakery wall into the bomb site? You really have to be selective here. And on top of all that, Hills, he could start juggling some of these batteries as well.
Knight's probably expecting bar and cocktail as well. Although they'll find pretty quickly, and they probably already realize kitchen. I do agree, and then, you know, typically when it is bar and cocktail, usually first up, it's playing it safe. And then this way, I just love the fact that LFO changed it up a bit. Do something different, and as you said, it comes down to the bands themselves playing a factor. And that almost also was the case, if you remember back on Consulate with the IQ.
In my view here, with these bans in mind, Knights do really have to leverage the vertical play. So a good job from Arlo and Dino so far, and I guess Hayward and Juicy as well, also assisting. Has he got a suppressor on this monster of a machine gun? I love Arlo bringing the machine gun here, the LMG on Zafir, because it's just so unusual. Might get an early engagement, in fact. Doesn't overpeak that one. Thatcher EMP, not sure what the idea was with that Thatcher EMP. First set of Hibana pellets going out onto the hatch. Part of that really precious utility being utilized.
20 remaining. Not a lot really covered here by the Knights either. Isn't Nasty able to get Hayward up through red stairs? And yet still very little control of that second floor, even let alone first floor. It's all up for debate here.
Nasty gets another one. Strider the Hibana does take out Mims on the Maestro. Strong utility operator. I think Strider must have been peeking on a long angle through garage. You can see this rotate was opened by LFO into freezer. Opting not to utilize reinforcements on it, but instead reinforcing garage. Bit of a slow moment here for Knights though. C4 ripped out. Sox doesn't have to get too aggressive here. He has a really strong position with this shotgun. He's favored in these close range engagements. Know where he is, but he's the rock they're going to have to deal with. The C4 goes out. Hills finds Arlo. Just these 2 players left. And man, Sogs, you don't have to peek this. Strider takes his head off, but Strider's the last man standing. He gets taken out. And that's LFO, a nice and strong start to their Kafe.
You said Sogs doesn't have to peek it, but he knows that, you know, Nasty's close by anyway. He can counter peek and trade if needed. So they peek it at the same time, and in the end, the net result is a win for LFO. Over to bar and cocktail now for this second round, and well, a good start. That's where they'll be happy to see that at least Kitchen played out very much in their favor, and going forward here into Kafe, they can rely back onto it later on if they need be.
The plot thickens here. We speculated LFO would be at a bit of a disadvantage on this map. They're yet to prove they can take it to one of the big teams. Knights here coming off a strong record, but LFO have made this map their own with the ban phase, and Knights have doubled down as well with that Maverick ban on top of the Thermite. Now, it's much more difficult to bandit trick on this bomb site. For example, on the walls in bar backstore into piano, you can't bandit trick that because you're going to get shot from the skylight. So despite that, we're not going to see the bandit use. Instead, it looks like the mute is going to be placed down. But if that's just not banned, that mute down there can just get hatchet out nice and easy. So maybe... in fact, the Thatcher really could have a huge impact here. Look at all this information denial, and on top of that, we have the position at Pixel from Mims already set up. That's a position that Thatcher's great for. He can clear ADSs. But that's why LFO is spreading out their utility. Got my discs spaced out far from the ADSs so that the Thatcher can't just blanketly take out all the utility at once.
And Mims can obviously play Pixel and washrooms as well from that sort of position with the shield covering that area. So really well set up right now from LFO. We'll see how Knights can respond here on the attacking side.
LFO are really taking the fight to this game. A C4 thrown out the top. Doesn't find anything, but it just is a statement from Sogs that he's here to stay. Let's see if this nade does connect. Yep, and that's the shield gone down. Sogs taken so low for it as well. Going to take out as many drones as he can, but doesn't get any for now. So low HP, and he moves into elevator, drops the hatch, but Dino spots that on the drone. Sogs has to be careful. He's a man without a C4 and low HP, so has to be careful if he wants to make an impact this round.
But a lot of utility used and a lot of information gained as well for Sogs. And the fact that he stays alive, I mean, it really could have been worse for LFO here. Minute and a half, they still got 5 up. I mean, Sogs can just play a bit more defensively here. Dino just wants to make sure no one's roaming up red stairs. You can see, yeah, Sogs moving all the way into mining, playing really safe now, low health. Wants to be able to keep that 5v5 player advantage here. LFO maybe still just fall back a little bit if they want to. You can see Mims at Pixel can actually just fall back all the way to white stairs. They can give Knights a bit of position here at the cigar.
Knights have been slowly but steadily getting this ground. Hill's also roaming downstairs. Sledgehammer's going to do with that castle barricade nicely, but Nasty's going to use his gas to delay the take from Pixel. With at least one Hibana pellet used. I'm not sure how many Hibana X Kairos are remaining on Strider, but surely not enough to... Here we go. 2 left. That's enough for either a line of sight hole or a vaultable hole. He's going to go for the vaultable hole. But that's muted, so that's just going to have to get rid of that mute jammer for him to detonate these. There you go. There it is. Here's an avenue potentially going to be opened by Knights.
Able to get Angmo as well. 3 versus 5. They'll get another one here thanks to Strider. Mims gets taken down. Knights, well, they've probably got this round now. And I think Nasty's going to be able to win a 1v5 from this position.
10 seconds to go.
And LFO looked good from the beginning of this round in the way that they were set up on the defense, but Knights on offense come up big.
Yeah, it really didn't feel like that was going to be a 1v5, did it, eh? Knights were slow, but they were sure. Arlo, we didn't really see this on camera, but I noticed it on the kill feed. Arlo took out Hills, who was roaming downstairs. So Knights doing a really good job of compartmentalizing here, having players dedicated to hunting down these roamers, and simultaneously those guys can get their job done, while Strider and the Thatcher and the rest of the guys upstairs can take control of Piano Pixel and open up avenues onto the bomb site.
A lot of talk around Bar and Cocktail being, you know, defensive sided, and it goes back to the conversation we had earlier on in the night, more so in our last series with Elevate and Ferox. But you know, you were saying certain maps or even certain sites are considered defender sided, and yet really at the end of the day, as long as you know what you're doing, I don't think that it's as strong as you maybe think at times. And we've seen Bar and Cocktail get opened up easily plenty of times enough for it to say, okay, is it really that defensive side?
Yeah, I'd have to run the stats, but definitely not as much as people would think. Echo being utilized by Mims, but we know Haywood's good with this IQ scanner, so I'd be surprised to see that Yokai taken out. A lot of deployable shields as well brought. In fact, 3 different deployable shields from LFO. 1 in freezer, to help protect against that position if the backstore wall is opened up. One at Pixel. Not sure where's the third one. I didn't actually manage to see that third one. They haven't got the cigar one. They decided the nades are going to just deal with that nicely. Oh, Mims, just to keep himself safe at Cocktail. That's the 3 deployable shields. Also does give Mims some good angles to contest all the way on towards Cocktail. Sorry, towards Cigar.
Not quite as aggressive with the Cigar defense this time, though, from LFO. Knights might be able to just get in a bit quicker here. A lot more positioning around that eastern side, back over towards Cocktail. Marlow through the skylight. Dino drones in, clears out Cigar. Piano stage is cleared too. Angmo just holding it Pixel. That shield. Strider now already inside along with Dino at red stairs, and they're going to set up in the same way that they did in that last round. Just double check, make sure second floor's clear. Play from there.
One might spotted on this shield. Backs up a little bit. A couple people to contend with. Flash grenades going out to waste any ADSs and Wamai discs. A Thatcher EMP as well. Oh, how does he lose that fight? Haywood on the Pixel gets him there, and Arlo one on Mims as well. That was the player all the way at Cocktail. Nasty has to go huge here, and really LFO are on the run. Knights have made some good headway here in the round.
Bomb located by attackers.
Last round and this round now, they've made headway. Getting a bit of control already early on. Hill's able to at least slow down that momentum from Arlo. Falling back at Cocktail as Dino does get nasty though. 2 versus 4, and again LFO in a very unlikely situation as they were in that last round. Although Sogs, over in backstore, able to get Haywood, and still from that Cocktail position for Hills. Putting up a fight here though, LFO not going down easily.
They're starting to ramp up that aggression as they lose that advantage in order to claw it back in their favor. Dino taking low HP, but so is Hills. Still, the defenders have that default camera on the top floor. Good information on bar side. Juicy tries to push up the stairs. Hills was downstairs as well. Can he go for this flank? Surely Sogs doesn't find this. Indeed he does. It's a 2-on-2 now, and Hills can retake White. Sogs finishing that one off. 20 seconds left. Pressure is on for Knights.
20 seconds left, as you said. Hills went for the roam.
15 seconds left.
Comes back to White stairs now with Sog. Both are very, very low. Strider's going to put the diffuser down. Hills gets Dido. Hills will get Strider as well. 2 versus 4. No worries at all for Hills and Sogs. And LFO take the round 2-1.
Disable the diffuser.
Gotta be happy about that one in a 2 versus 4. To claw that back, Sogs and Hills deserve a pat on the back after that one.
Well, I mean, I said it wasn't looking good. It was looking very similar to that previous round prior. But things changed very quickly, and a lot of it thanks to, obviously, Hills and Sogs, but I think most of it to Hills at the start there in Cocktail.
Left.
And Sogs knew exactly when to get aggressive and when to retake the position at Cocktail as well. So huge credit to him. Both of these players really held their own. It was no one player there that won that clutch. It was Sogs and Hills together working in conjunction. And look, with that successful win on bar, it's been enough rounds. The kitchen and cooking is unlocked and LFO can make a return. Putting this into context though, I mean, LFO, they haven't lost they haven't been 2-0'd yet this Six Masters. They've won a map against all 3 of their opponents, the 3 top teams in the league. And coming in to this match, I know that Enigma, their coach, had some pretty fighting words about it, saying that we're going to win and we'll see who the tier 2 team is after tonight.
Who are Knights?
That's it. I mean, big fighting words. It's Enigma who said it. So, I mean, he's the one who's going to cop it if they lose. And, I mean, he's the one who gets to gloat if they win.
5 seconds left.
Well, Hills and Sogs are definitely gloating after that last round. They're going to have to keep it up. And yet, it feels like maybe a band-aid over the crack here, because 2 rounds in a row, Knights were able to clean house a little bit on this 3rd floor of Kafe. But obviously Hills and Sogs put an end to that for the time being, back down the 1st floor. And for Knights, I think it's a matter of that perseverance here.
I'm sorry, I just want to... This strat What is this? Castle barricades upstairs, pre-placed holes by the defenders. This is like a hard hold of train. Like I was identifying previously with the Maverick and the Thermite Band, it really enables, or it really forces, I guess, the attackers to go above to clear out these positions on site. I mean, that was assuming that a bandit trick was going to be utilized, but there's no bandit taken here. So, I mean, LFO are going for this hard hold. A lot of castle barricades around mining, turning it into a bit of a kill box, an awkward position for Knights to enter. A very unusual strategy. It's going to be up to Mims and Sogs together to hold it. Sogs with the first pick. He's just on fire tonight.
Well, that's one way to make Dev excited.
You bring
Just
a
take
castle and you know you're going to get me. You're going to get me
Just
going.
bring a castle, set up in a room, and he'll love you forever. But I think also then getting the pick onto Dino really just completes it for Sogs and makes it worth it as well. They might just stun Knights a little bit now on their attack. They might be thinking, geez, what's going on in there? What's so special about mining here with Sogs really holding this up? And they have to now start to push through here. And it's going to buy so much time as well on this attack from Knights.
And utility. Now Hayward might find Mims. Juicy looking to finally pinch Sogs here. Concuss now. Sogs isn't going to win that fight. Hollow finds another one too. Suddenly things are turned on its head. I thought Knights might be a bit starved for utility because that sledge was the first one to get taken out and Arlo had to use his explosive lifelines on the castle barricades. But it doesn't seem to have mattered because Knights have really regained this man advantage.
Have they though? Because last time they had a 2 versus 4 advantage, it backfired dramatically. Although it's not Hills and Sogs this time as the partner crime. It's Is It Nasty and Angmo. Claymore's going to be destroyed. So Knights now in this situation, you have to think of probably coming, hey, let's not throw this one away as well. We really should be up 2-1, making it 3-1 now. Instead, they've got to just look to make it 2-2 with their 4 versus 2 advantage.
Full map control, except for this bomb site. Ung and Nasty are going to play close together.
15 seconds
Nasty
remaining.
wants to be fed this close range engagement, and he's got 2 players there. Ungmo finds 1, gets traded. That's the fuser down.
Oh.
Nasty finds 2. It's a 1 versus 1, and he clutches it. Nasty holding down the fort for LFO.
I brought it up, but I didn't think it would actually happen again. That's 2 rounds now choked away from Knights, or I guess you could say, hardly fought back and won by LFO's duo in both rounds. Yeah, let's get this replay of this round, that's for sure.
That was nuts there. He wanted this close range engagement. That's exactly what he got. He even went for the last one as well. LFO, some huge performances here. They're up 3-1 on their defense.
I mean, it's fair to say, though, Dev, that this could easily be 3-1 to Knights right now, and that's got to be devastating for them in terms of their morale, knowing that they've choked away 2 4 versus 2 advantages and should be up 3-1. But credit to LFO, they're stuck with it all the way to the end.
Yeah. It's got to follow through here. Look at how many reinforcers are invested on the top 4. 2, 4, 6, 7, 8. 8 out of the 10 reinforcements from LFO invested on this cocktail hold. When, reminder, reading in Fireplace is the bomb site. We know how important
5 seconds remaining.
this cocktail hold can be, but really LFO is going just like all in. 2 hard breaches are banned, leaving only Hibana left. Reinforcing all of those holes really gives Knights no opportunity to take advantage of soft walls. They're going to have to use that Hibana or funnel through choke points. And I really like that decision-making process from LFO.
Deploying heartbeat sensor.
That's the other thing as well, without those hard breaches available, potentially attacking here on Kafe might be... Oh, that should have gone through. We'll have another trying mode. No. Fall back, play it safe, but attacking here might have been considered a bit difficult, and yet Knights could have been up 3-1 and then go into the defense and really bring it home, and that's no longer the case. Anyway, really wants a C4 Juicy. I think that first opportunity was missed because it got stuck on the barricade. Now I think it's too late. Or is it?
Is he really going to take this gunfight? Grazes him there. Juicy does return fire, but doesn't find anything. I think Angmo did manage to shoot that drone there. But Knights taking good control here. Getting into this top floor, but of course it's Cigar that makes the difference. And Angmo is going to keep fighting from below. C4 goes thrown up. It does find Dino. That's the sledge gone. A lot of soft breach potential. Didn't find Arlo, who's the man he was looking for, but now Hayward's looking to return.
And that's the positive of saving that C4. Hayward does get Angmo though, pushing back into Train and, well, punishes him there for coming back. Should have maybe just left while he was ahead, but obviously wanted to keep an eye on that hatch. Mute Gem is going to stop that for Hayward. Juicy's still holding that window. Actually hasn't moved at all at the balcony. But minute 13 remaining. Knights, 4 versus 4. Maybe will be more likely to win this than a 4 versus 2. We'll see how it plays out. Minute remaining.
Arlo does find another one, so numbers advantage going further and further Knights' way. Sogs returns fire. Takes down Arlo. Good information on this default camera, though, and still presence at Cocktail. Knights are trying to overrun them. Potentially Sogs, nope, not going up for the peak. Leaving it all up to the players at Cocktail to hold on. Strider does finish off Hills now. 41 seconds, but we know LFO can come back from these numbers deficits.
We certainly know that. Nasty and Sogs been playing really well, right above Nasty's 2. Does have the C4 available. Almost gets caught out. He's going to take a few shots. I believe it's Juicy. It is. Oh, that's Nasty from Nasty. 2 versus 2. Hayward's able to get Sogs. Is in at least between both bomb sites here, so getting this plant down is still going to be difficult for Knights with 7 seconds left, but Nasty's got no health at all, cannot take any damage whatsoever.
Not committing that plant yet. It's a 1v1, but the feet holes are the bane of Nasty, and Hayward thankfully puts an end to this madness. Knights just should be thankful that they've gotten around on the board. Way too close for comfort once again.
That's maybe a breath of relief for Knights from this round, I think, as well, considering how this map was moving away from them a little bit at 3-1 when, you know, this is where we go back to this. Is this scoreboard really, you know, showing the true story here? Because Knights, again, they probably feel like they should be up 4-1 here.
Yeah, but 3-3 would still be pretty good for them as an attacking half, especially with this. I mean, I've been harping on about the Thermite Maverick ban. I feel like it's quite impactful. That said, Thatcher is in. It does force the defense to play a little bit differently than if the Thatcher was banned. So we'll see. Knights, if they can edge out a 3-3 here, they definitely could be in a winnable position, even without overtime. But LFO have one last chance to ring out on their defenses. Going back up to Bar Cocktail. Lost at the first attempt and then won it on a 2 versus 4. And I mean, a 2 versus 4, right? That's not the kind of round where you say, yeah, they're definitely going to win that again, right? They only barely won it in a 2v4. So, yeah, surely there's a response here from Knights.
I think 3-3 probably is the most fair result for the half. We get to that point, and I think neither side should be too upset. But for LFO, if they can go into this half 4-2, you've got to be feeling ecstatic with how they've performed here on the defensive side and how things could have been the complete opposite. So then go onto their attack, and they're needing 3 rounds. Final attack here for Knights. Bar and Cocktail, as we've said. And, well, hit and miss has been the way that Bar and Cocktail has gone so far tonight.
Can I just have a moment of appreciation for Arlo's suppressed LMG? I know I mentioned it earlier, but man, I love that thing so much. It's so good, and there you go. Thank you, on cue. Tap, tap, tap. A little bit of a t-shirt cannon there, and takes the head off of Angmo, and that's great control already established with Pixel. Only 1 minute down, and there's already control of Piano, Cocktail, and Pixel. That's nuts. Oh, uh-oh. That's going to be terrifying.
That's some defying gravity stuff. Honestly, trying to take the position of Pixel and Washroom. Probably more so now, just wanting to bunker down into washrooms. Because Dino might just have to be held up here by the smoke. We're at 30. You said they got in here early, but now pushing past Cigar and Piano is going to be difficult.
Arlo cautious with these long angles. Hibana pellets ring out. Ooh, but tricked by the Kaid. Excellent work from Sogs. We've talked about how starved the attackers are for hard breach here, and that's one set from Strider gone. All it would have taken was an extra Thatcher EMP from Juicy, and that Kaid trick would have been countered. Doesn't look like there's a potential to counter this Kaid, this Hibana, which was on the washrooms wall. But for now, the backstore walls are safe and intact. Arlo finds another one on the round as Mims, trying to peek aggressively, loses that gunfight from Cocktail.
40 seconds remaining. 5 versus 3. Not impossible for LFO with how their defense has been holding up so far. Although now 2 versus 5, and it is going to be a bit more difficult than a 2v4. They do get the trade back at least onto Sogs. Not going to allow him to stay alive there, because I feel like if he had stayed alive, who knows what could have happened. Hills in a 1 versus 4. Strider's going to get the plant down. Knights should win the round. They should tie this up 3-3 going into the half, barring a miracle from Hills. There's already been 2 miracles, really, on the side of LFO. They can't have a third one, surely. It's unfair if they were able to get one more here on their defense.
Attempted a retake, but come on, Knights aren't going to lose this. Surely not. Player on the flank, and he lands his shots onto Hills. That's juicy. I was a bit worried for Knights when they got those Hibana pellets tricked, but after finding that first kill, they found a weakness they could exploit. They just kept heading in. There's only one refrag opportunity for LFO, and that was immediately responded to by Knights. Really nice attack there. And looking at a 3-3 half, now it's maybe not what Knights thought they were capable of, but it's a good position to be in. And they should be able to lock this out on their defense.
And I mean, 3-3 at the half probably coincides with how close everyone in the poll vote thought it was going to be, how close we thought it was going to be between these two teams, and probably indicative of how close these two teams are in general. And yet, I just keep going back to those 2 rounds that Knights weren't able to capitalize on, and you just think this could have been 5-1 in favor of Knights. So can we see LFO capitalize here on their attacking side? That's the question. They've been able to put themselves in this position where they only need a few attacking round wins.
Now, LFO were the ones who banned that Thermite. I wonder whether they were expecting the Maverick ban here. A lot of teams have just been opting to bring the Maverick, especially in a Thatcher ban meta. People just bring the Maverick, especially on this map. You can open up really what you need to for the most part, and you've got nades as well to deal with any shields or Maestro cams, whatever it is. Or even players, I guess. Nades have multiple purposes. So LFO, without Maverick, without the Thermite, just this Hibana. How are they going to deal with it?
Fine fragged, click heads. I don't know what's so complicated, Dev.
Oh, I like this little hole.
That's what,
just one part of the elevator opened up.
I mean, that's really, though, what Knights were doing on their attacking side, right? Taking those duels a bit more often. You saw Arlo pushing in a lot. Speaking of Arlo, Mims is going to find him. That was Knights' strategy. It seemed to pay off on the offense. On the defense, though, Arlo does go down early, which opens the opportunities up for LFO on attack. Their first attacking route. They can take control of second floor.
Very much a vertical take so far from LFO, pushing in from downstairs. Not meeting much contention. I wonder whether Arlo was simply unaware that he was being hunted. Elmo pushing in from the top floor. He's got heals nearby. Nomad charge going to placed. Air jab to prevent that flank up white. We know Knights are one of those teams that they do like to go for those flanks, especially players like Hayward.
I mean, a minute 40 remaining, and as you said, vertical take, although Strider from a vertical position on this third floor is able to spot Sogs pushing up. Not a lot of control around that cigar piano area. Mims will be able to at least trade back and get juicy. Although it does take a lot of damage for that trade. I don't want to say it's a 3v3, but it feels like a 3.5 to a 3. Mims is so low. And immediately taken out by Hayward.
The job. Yeah, there you go. 3-on-3 now. Even Stevens. Nasty going to drone up. An angle opens to plant in bar from Piano, but Strider's still playing aggressively in there. Drone tries to move in, and he takes it out with this really well-placed Evil Eyes. Perhaps an opportunity to take one of these out, but I don't think there's any utility left to deal with them. Going to find this long angle into backstore is Ungmo, but Strider's still playing really aggressively. He knows he has the confidence to peak with that Alder, plus the utility he can use on his Evil Eyes. Bit of a stall out from LFO.
Only 30 seconds remaining. This is one of the slower rounds we've seen so far tonight on Kafe. And yet it's 3v3.
Oh,
Attackers have located a
I'm
bomb.
trying to be forced down. Is there a Maestro Cam that can deal with that? Doesn't need to be. Hills can find one, but he's being harassed here. Evil Eye's going to look away. Can't shoot it back. 1v2. Strider is just going to insult him. Tick, tick, tick. No way Hills can get this plant off safely. Strider just on the other side of the bar, but he knows he's safe. And Knights lock out that first defense.
Even if he gets it down anyway, I don't sense he's going to go on and win that round. But that just made it even more so impossible than anything. And Knights continue to just win round after round now. A bit of a streak here. I believe 3 in a row, because it was 3-1 in favor of LFO after their double back-to-back 2v4 comeback on defense. And since then, it's been all one-sided tonight. So, I mean, those quotes from Enigma may come back to bite him here on Kafe.
As I was saying earlier, LFO, they've had a good record on Kafe, but most of those games were against lesser teams, against teams that failed to qualify for 6 Masters. Teams like Europe, PC419. LFO are yet to prove their worth on Kafe against one of these top 8 teams in the region. And that's really what Knights have been proving that they are here. A sweep of 3 rounds in a row, 2 good attacks, and then that defense, quite convincing.
Attackers have discovered the location.
And they'll move on down to Kitchen. Bombsite LFO decided to choose first in their half because of, well, to my guess, because of the lack of Thermite and Maverick. Remember here, Maverick was banned out by Knights, and they were the ones who got that second ban.
10 seconds.
So LFO opens things up, banning out Thermite. Knights could decide they ban Thatcher, whatever, they ban Maverick. So they were the ones that did this to themselves.
Attackers are heading out.
They're
to
much more
defuse a bomb.
prepared for it than LFO, seemingly.
Well, they had the option. I think that's what you're trying to say, is that Knights basically had the option of really reducing the amount of hard bridges available. So they're then able to sort of come up with ways to counter that and say, okay, well, we're definitely going to ban Maverick here. We're not going to have many hard bridges. What can we do here? So, whereas LFO, I mean, whether or not they were expecting the Maverick to follow up after their Thermite, it might have been a bluff that just gets called out here. And LFO are going to have to deal with this now on their attacking side, where I think, especially on Kitchen, it's going to be so much more difficult to be breaching here without the extra hard bridger.
Looks like it will be a bakery push, though. Despite the fact that there's no Thermite, no Mav to open up that main wall onto the A-bomb site. Does seem to be where LFO are pushing from. Don't quite know how it'll work with just that Cabana. They've got control of bakery. It's a good start, but it's not everything. Looking for, I don't know, what are they looking for? Echo drones? Thatcher EMP goes out on the wall. Nasty can now freely open it up. There's in fact no wall denial other than the mute jammers. No Bandit, no Kaid. Here we go. Nasty's going to whip out the X-Kairos. What's he going to do? Crouch height hold perhaps. An additional one for line of sight. Only 1 pellet left. There you go. All 3 pellets invested. That's all the hard breach that's available invested here. I better hope that this avenue really helps him out.
Whether it helps them out or not, Sogs helps them out by getting it down to a 5v4, finding a pick onto Dino from a different avenue. You mentioned everyone sort of from LFO pushing in through Bakery. That's the ideal spot to push through now because of the breach opened up from Nasty, but Sogs is going to now be able to offer that mind play onto Knights and say, okay, I'm coming in from the east now as well. Can't forget about me as Nangmo gets Arlo. And Knights just slipping here on defense in this round particularly. This is so good from LFO. As Hills is able to eliminate Strider and push onto the site. Although Hayward does get one back, 4 versus 2. Now just maybe time for Knights to show that they can win a 4v2 as well.
But no more C4, and this cross has been covered very well by Ungmo, who's going to hold on and take out the last 2 Knights players. That's another round for LFO, evening up this scoreline to 4 apiece.
I mean, typically that's how a 4v2 usually goes, Dev. Not what we saw before.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
that's the norm.
Just yeah, that's normal. That's okay. Reading 5 plays for this next round. 4-4 tied up again. Knights able to be stopped that round by LFO, and LFO just that was so clean, almost a flawless round. The way they played that was flawlessly. The bakery push even with just the Habana, but then Sogs opening up with that pick on the other side of the map basically just puts a bit of doubt into the minds of Knights and forces them to make sure they've got to keep every option opened. And then obviously for LFO, they're not all just funneling in from one direction.
Yeah, unfortunately, I did miss those first 2 picks. Not quite sure where they went down, but I was a bit skeptical of LFO's push there. I thought investing all of your hard breach utility onto those main walls, you better hope that you win your engagements on those long-range angles. On top of that, LFO weren't all running ACOGs. You know, we had Nasty on the Hibana running a hollow site, so in theory, less favored in those long-range engagements. It's usually the attackers bringing ACOGs, it's so that they can have that advantage over the defenders in long-range engagements. But yeah, it didn't matter. Not only did they find those first 2 picks, but also pushing into prep. I think it was the Thatcher player, must have been Hills. He peeked up and was very aware of the angle above from inside a train. Took out that player as well. By that point, you know, a 5 versus 2, hard to lose those.
5 seconds left before insertion.
But it can be done.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb.
I'm moving on to reading. First time we've seen Knights play this one. I like this angle. Absolutely cheeky. It's the kind of thing where if I die to this angle, I'm going to be, you know, I'm not going to be happy. You don't want to be in the Discord call with me when that happens.
Some commando style from Strider. Looks like he's in the swamps.
I think he's worried about getting pre-fired through the window. But he's just droning on through. Yeah, very cautious of someone on the long angle from outside. But no one is there. 2 players on the middle floor, 3 players on the top floor. Pretty standard here for Knights on this defense. Of course, this reading defense heavily revolves around cocktail presence. How long can the defenders hold on? I like the usage of these castle barricades. Makes it much more difficult for attackers to transition between bar and the backstore.
Attackers have located
Really
a
restricts
bomb.
their vulnerability,
The
forces them
attacker's
down
bomb
those
diffuser
choke
has
points.
been dropped.
Strategy that Knights has been running for a really, really long time, in fact, on Kafe. So hopefully it's something LFO have done their VODs on, and they'll be aware of it and ready to counter.
A lot of control around that white corridor area. I know he was able to get a C4 elimination onto Hills. 4v4 though, the advantage doesn't last for very long. In fact, Hayward now gets, but never mind, it's now 3v3.
What? Why do these guys keep killing each other? Xenox, I can't keep up.
I mean, look, it's the aim of the game here, isn't it, right?
Well, I guess that's cocktail control. That's what Ungmo's thinking right now. He's like, oh, I guess we killed everyone up here. We probably have to redrone it. And that's what those mute jammers are for, to prevent that from happening. Bit of a drone going down on the bomb site. In fact, Strider, Dino, and Juicy are all on the bomb site. This castle barricade, though, very much present here on the reading door. We'll need to see LFO get rid of that before they can execute in this typical position. The later they leave that, the riskier this gets.
They've really fallen back early, though. 50 seconds remaining. They're going to give up all control of that 3rd floor. Are the Knights? Long's able to just break that castle barricade open. We saw an unfortunate incident at that door earlier on, where you just funnel through. It's so easy for the defender to just keep an eye on it. Angmo, Tog's got to be careful if they're going to push through here.
Angmo actually goes deep. Gets back out again, 23 seconds. Got to start your plant soon, mate, otherwise you're going to get desperate. Hibana opens up an angle to pinch off Dino. Sogs finds another one on Strider. Juicy to hold. He gets 2 with the SMG-11, but there's no ammo left and no time to reload. Onto the shotgun, but Dino finishes it off. And Knights hold fast here for another defense.
Yeah. I mean, the smart play, pushing back early, I guess, and playing a little bit more defensive, making sure no one else was going to be able to get picked off. I mean, we didn't quite see every single kill in that game particularly, so it was a bit hard to sort of judge. But as you said, I think it was a lot of the fighting was around that cocktail position.
Everyone died at cocktail at once. These guys just refragged each other out until everyone was dead. But it'll be bar again. It's the I've just noticed, have you noticed every single round Sogs picks an operator and then just 6 picks Zofia? Every single round. Last round it was Ying, this round it's Montaigne. This is mind games. And I mean I like it. You know.
Yeah. And I mentioned that actually, I can't remember if it was off air or one of my practice casts, but I said I was said it to Raven, I was like, you reckon people are gonna just troll with that 6 pick? Like, why not? Like, if you know what you're gonna want to pick, just might as well just pick something like the Chunker or whatever, then switch it over to what you were actually gonna pick.
Yeah, I mean, you can just do it to Chenka for a bit of a lull, but you can also do it to maybe just spook out your opponent. For example, the Ying. A lot of teams are afraid of the Ying. Probably seen it as such a high ban rate, most banned operator in 6 Masters so far. And the Montaigne, also a really scary operator if played well. So just trying to get in the Knights' head a bit, but yeah. Sogs consistently 6-picking over to that Zofia. Now Knights edging away a lead here after a 3-3 half. They've come away with 2 strong defenses, yet to find a bar defense successful there. We'll see how LFO do manage to deal with this one. It's like quite a bit of presence in piano, at least for now. Is Hayward going to try and sit in here for a while? Might do.
Probably at least until he gets droned out, I would imagine. Barbed wire near red stairs.
It's dangerous though, because as soon as an attacker is on that west rappel, Hayward's kind of stuck. He can't really make a move at all. So he needs to rotate out there before it's too late. Perhaps he's just adapting, because LFO seem to consistently go for this downstairs push. And you can see, for example, Angmo here with Mims downstairs. Just to be cautious of that angle. But also a player potentially in piano looking down through the hatch. A lot of angles to be cautious of.
It's interesting because Knights were so set up, well not set up, but they were very much maybe expecting Cigar, red stairs, and yet second floor push. Verticality is what LFO wanted this round. Hayward does get Sogs, but
I think that was a run out.
yeah.
Must have been a run out from the windows. I think he got traded straight away. So a bit of a risky play from Hayward, but yeah, just jumped out piano window. It's the kind of thing that's always going to get traded.
I mean, I do like to see the push for the second floor for LFO. They got in super early, so they got enough time to play it. Arlo sitting at white stairs, making sure that's covered though. Just in case they want to roam over from mining or reading and head over to white stairs.
One thing that has been a weakness for LFO is leaving Strider's Evil Eye cameras up for quite a long time. And with Sogs the first one taken out, look at so much information for Strider right now with the players on his Evil Eyes. He's going to get a really aggressive position. He's so confident in his aim with this Alder. He's worried he's been droned out, but he's going to hold firm on this angle. Could deal a lot of damage.
50 seconds remaining. 3 versus 4
we got droned.
In favor of LFO. Hills is going to spot out Strider, and that's going to make it even more difficult for Knights. Arlo finds one back onto Angmo though. White stairs still holding back. Hills able to get Arlo, and Knights down to a 1 versus 3. Dino's all that remains. That diffuser is going to go down.
Dino can't even peek here because of the air jab above his doorway. Plant goes down. Hoping to find an exit frag if someone attempts to rotate back into piano, but they're just getting safe. They're playing around the new hatch drop. Ooh, almost gets that first kill. Good pre-aim, good pre-fire, but doesn't net anything just yet. And there's a lot of information. You can see those 2 Maestro cameras still up, as I mentioned, but Dino's got a lot of work to do with it, and LFO do close it out a 3v0 at the end there. Really nice job from LFO to punish the aggressive plays from Knights and lock out that round.
I was going to say that was sort of the break point round as well for Knights to send it to match point. Now we're once again tied 5-5. We haven't had a single overtime so far tonight. In fact, everything we've had tonight usually was one-sided in our first series for both maps, but this is neck and neck. 5-5. Knights have looked the better. They've passed the eye test more than LFO, but LFO are just finding a way. The Sulks is going to go back to that Sophia again. They keep finding a way.
I'm sorry, when he was on the Nook, I was like, I just wanted to interrupt you and be like, Denox, I bet you $10 that he's going to switch to Sophia. I don't think you would have taken that
one. Oh, yeah. But they just keep finding a way to keep this close and keep it 5-5, making sure that Knights don't run away with the series or the map. And now they're putting themselves in a position to... Whoever gets this next round is going to have match point for at least one round.
Yeah, and look, it could well be LFO. They've won Bar Cocktail once now. And in fact, I mean, it was Knights here thinking, do we go back downstairs to Kitchen? Because that's unlocked. They haven't won it yet. Or do we retry Bar Cocktail, which they have a 50% win rate on this map so far? Trying here again, and to be honest, the first time Knights won this bomb site, it was really thanks to aggressive plays that didn't get punished. I'm thinking Strider with his Maestro cameras, he had so much information, his teammates could relate to him on anyone in bar, in piano, around New Hatch, Cigar, and Strider was playing such an aggressive position in bar itself, just at the railings, and did quite a lot of damage from that position. In that previous round, he tried to make a play based on that same kind of movement, and he got droned out and punished. Now, if LFO can continue to punish these kinds of aggressive players from Knights, I'm not sure Knights will be able to hold on.
LFO have been loving pushing in first floor, second floor. They don't mind. They're not just funneling into like red stairs hatch. Although, as I say that, Hills drops down red stairs hatch.
Well, I mean, it's step number one at Kafe 101, but yeah, it has been a bit unusual to see LFO's insistence on pushing downstairs. And I mean, Knights, I think they're aware of it now, but they're not quite sure how to contest it. Oh, there's a good job. They are, in fact, putting a lot of utility downstairs, but not necessarily players. So this is going to make it much more difficult for LFO to take control of that downstairs area because their drones are getting denied. They don't have the information to run away with. I just hope Soggs takes out the Maestro cameras before he dies this round.
I think the positioning as well of Knights then comes into question for themselves because of LFO just playing from different positions. There's Evil Eye, but not playing too aggressive with them. They're making it difficult to... Oh, geez, that was... I don't think anyone was actually there, were they?
Strider was just prone right next to that bar. Prone right next to that bar, and I think he's aware that Strider's been playing in that position, so he pre-fired around it. I like the idea. Oh,
definitely didn't connect, though.
No, not at all. Other Mozzie Pest catches a drone here. Mims does open proceedings, but traded back. A couple pre-fires goes Strider's way, but doesn't find anything. What's the go, LFO?
Like they're just trying to flush Strider out of that position. And get him to move, but he's not budging. Happy to just keep holding that. Drone's going to be cleared out. White corridor now push for Angmo. 40 seconds remaining. LFO coming in from a few different directions. Hayward, though, steadfast holds his position at White Stairs. Probably knows that White corridor has been compromised. Angmo is getting super aggressive with his push. Hayward's going to completely punish him as he pushes back up. And that's going to make it so much more difficult now for LFO. Although, as I say that, immediately Hills does pick up the kill onto Strider. They knew where he was in that position at bar. 15 seconds left. His plant's going to go down very soon.
And there's the air jab, going to be capitalized upon. 2 more for Hills. Yes, traded out. Nasty trying to stick this plant. It's a 1v1. Is he going to stick it? He gets off, and he wins the fight as well. LFO take us on to match point, and that's the second time Nasty has gone huge with a clutch.
Oh, he is nasty, isn't he? LFO are in a now. They're in a position, Dev. I swear to God, I cannot believe this. That they're on match point. But I keep bringing up the eye test says Knights have looked the better, but these last 2 rounds, the eye test now says LFO are here to play, and they deserve this match point, and that they've really flipped this game on its head. regardless of how those first 3-4 rounds played out on the defense side, they've now switched it. They're now in match point and deserve it. Oh, Sophia into the Ash.
No!
Oh,
Insane. Never seen before strategy employed by Sogs here. He 6-picks off of Zafia instead of onto it, and he decides to just go full send and play Ash. Why not?
Hey,
Mate?
it's
Why
not. It's not like he. It's not like he 6-picked off the Sophia to go into Monty, and has completely.
No,
reversed.
He goes from like he's 6-picks between the two most similar operators in the game.
Yeah. But hey, maybe the Sophia was the good luck charm. Maybe this might actually be bad luck for LFO here.
Look, Jake, I want to ask you a question. Do you want to see overtime?
I do want to see overtime.
I bet you do.
But
And
I won't lie.
Knights
If we
do
go
as
to
well.
if we go to overtime, I have no idea who's going to win that overtime because it's so close right now between these two. I feel like this is the best opportunity, and obviously, yeah, it's match point, so LFO have got this opportunity, but if they're going to win it, I think you got to win it now because Knights haven't looked bad. LFO just keep winning those 50-50s.
And even winning the, the 60-30, the 60-40s, winning the 70-30s, winning the ones that they shouldn't be winning because they've won 3 clutches so far. 2 2v4s and then that 1v1 there at the end, just that round prior. But if Knights do tie it up here, that would be a straight 3-3 half for each team. Perfectly even defense and attacks. Quite a contrast to what we saw earlier tonight, which was very attacker-sided. LFO pressure is on to lock it out now and not go to overtime, where they'll have to switch back onto their defense at some point.
Have looked the goods in the last 2 rounds, LFO, to put themselves into this position. I'd say overall, out of the 11 rounds played, 3 of them were that 50-50, as you said, maybe even 60-30 in favor of Knights, and they won all of them.
That makes 90, not 100, mate. 60-30 is 90.
You're the one who said it, so I'm just going with what you said. we all know your maths is not the strongest suit. That's
all
okay.
right.
Mine.
Moving on.
2 minutes remaining, though, and LFO, you maybe don't want to sort of rush your hand here, I guess.
Yeah, they are repeating the pattern that they've been doing every single time, taking this control below. Trying to do some kind, I don't really know what it is accomplishing, to be honest, other than flushing out the player from Dino. But yeah, typically it is that cocktail pressure that makes the difference. Knights have Hayward retreat back downstairs. Sogs doesn't shoot that camera, electing to try to not reveal his position. Pushing up very slowly, just a crouch walk. This barbed wire is going to stop his progress, though. He'll have to either melee that or walk through it, either way, telegraphing his position, but there's no one nearby other than Juicy. Strider does kick off things with Nasty, the player that's been on fire. Is that refrag, though? Surely Sogs can't find another, he does!
The barbed wire's not going to stop Sogs. Takes out Juicy. And it's a 4v3 LFO match point, and now certainly the match in their hands. Hills gets Arlo as well. They are on the verge of taking Kafe away from Knights. Dino and Strider are tasked with a 2 versus 4. It's been the map of 2v4s that we saw from earlier of LFO. If ever is a time to repeat that effort, but now for your benefit, now is that time, Strider and Dino.
20 seconds remain. If they can kill the player who's planting, kill the player with the diffuser, it could mean everything for Knights. To send it to overtime is Dino and Strider trying to find this first engagement. Strider finds one. Could it be evened up? There's an even Steven. Hills just to find Strider. Going for this plant. Mims has to cover. Strider could clutch this. It's so possible right now. There's a player injured. The plant's going down. Now it's a 1 versus 2. But LFO lock this out and lock out the map for Mims. LFO taking their opponent's map pick 7-5.
Wow. And they pick up their first Kafe win as well of 6 Masters for LFO. What a map. 7-5? Incredible. I mean, the scoreline doesn't even remotely tell the story for this game. You have to watch that game back if you've missed it, especially the first 4 rounds. Watching that, you would think, how did Knights lose? But LFO, as I said before, the last 2-3 rounds, that's when they really flick the switch and deserve this 7-5 win. And as you said, steal the map pick away from Knights.
Some huge performances from LFO players as well. Hills, Sogs, and Nasty, I believe, were the 3 players copping 10 or above on the kill feed. And man, Hills and Sogs had so many impactful mid-round frags. Hills in particular, I felt like there were so many rounds playing the Thatcher where he would just find 2 or 3 kills, and then we would be like, I thought Knights were in the lead now, when suddenly there's an opportunity for LFO to explode onto the bomb site. Add to that the fact that Nasty was involved in, 2 really impactful 1vx's and won both of them. That was just too good to bypass, man. Finally, LFO have proved that they can take Kafe even against a top team.
And I think for Knights, you know, especially when we have the interview later on, is those first 2v4 losses in the end probably cost them the map as a whole.
Yeah.
If we look at it from start to finish. So how much that now changes things in terms of morale going into Clubhouse. Both these 2 teams are probably comfortable on Clubhouse. So it's obviously the map pick for LFO that we're going to be pushing into next. But Knights have shown success on Clubhouse as well. So they probably aren't feeling like a daunting task is awaiting them after the break.
It's tough because there is a bit of... There's got to be some kind of mental weight there, and Knights have to have the stamina to get through it because they've just lost their map pick, one that wasn't super proven for LFO, and on their part, it was one of their strongest maps. Going into Clubhouse, LFO have come off a 7-5 win over Wildcard and a 7-2 win over Elevate. LFO have looked so good on Clubhouse. In fact, the last time they lost it was yonks ago. It was ages ago that is almost not relevant. LFO are just looking so good on this map. I've got to be scared if I'm the Knights.
Well, we're going to find out after the break. Will Knights lose this series or will they make it 1-1? Stay tuned.
Seconds to go. Attackers are activating the... Attackers have dropped the bomb. 10 seconds to go.
Setting C4.
Seconds to go.
Into your eyes, I see the colors of your soul, and I recognize every single line, every single roadblock. We are two hearts that beat in time. In the towers, looking down all night, blocking out the sun that we need. Maybe we can change our stripes and colors. You're the only one I see. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. And I take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. Sleep through the sunrise. Look into my past and I count the numbers of the dreams that I left behind. I don't even care now that I've discovered a new kind of peace of mind. Up above us, looking down on us, there's an angel I know. We don't need to worry or discuss much. It's time for me to hit the road. Take it all or nothing at all. Driving through the night till I'm at your door. Go outside, stay up all night. Sleep through the sunrise.
Well, we're halfway through this series between LFO and Knights. LFO stealing the map pick away from Knights on Kafe here at playdate number 7 of 6 Masters. Dev, we head now forward into Clubhouse. It is the map pick as well of LFO. You give them the big chance of going 2-0 here for, I think, the first time this season.
Yes, they've drawn every single game so far, but they've all been against really good teams. And they're also undefeated on Clubhouse so far this season. So it's going to be a first, either a first proper double win for LFO or a first loss on Clubhouse. So we're heading into uncharted territory. I'm super keen.
Super keen as well. And you know, it goes both ways. We've had a draw in the first series tonight. Will we get a draw here at Knights? You know, I mentioned it before we went to the break. It's now up to them to come back here, obviously, on Clubhouse. And I did say, as we were wrapping up the last map, that they're not bad on Clubhouse. They shouldn't be daunting this task that's in front of them here. They should be welcoming it with open arms and say, you know, LFO, Enigma, he made those comments. We want to win this. We want to really get back in and make it 1-1 at least.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, LFO are undefeated so far on Clubhouse in 6 Masters, but Knights have played at every single playday. And that's a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, it tells us that it's a good map for them. What they 7-2'd Kanga last week. That's pretty nice. They also beat Sinister 8-7 in a really close one. They lost to Ferox 3-7, however. But also, it's a double-edged sword, because having all those VODs means it's something LFO can then take back. During this week, LFO knows they're going to pick Clubhouse. They know that probably Knights aren't going to ban it, so they can just, you know, scrim the heck out of Clubhouse, watch all of the VODs from Knights, know exactly what they're going into. That kind of preparation, that counter-strategy, that's what Enigma and LFO are just really good at, and what they've demonstrated this season so far.
It was certainly very close on Kafe. The poll vote, as we have a look at it again, was also very close. The closest it's probably been this entire season, although it has gone up a little bit there on the left and right side, but still, you cannot split it. 37-39 and I guess 24% draw. They're still within a big chance here going into Clubhouse. Knights, I mean, I don't count them out coming into Clubhouse at all.
Yeah, on my snowball predictions, I said draw, I believe. Yep, it's come up on the ticker. I said draw. To be honest, if you were to ask me at the start of the map veto, I probably would have said draw. But with LFO winning Knights' map pick, I'm actually tending towards LFO here. I just don't see LFO losing Clubhouse. They have, on paper, they have really good experience against Wildcard and Elevate. Elevate was a 7-2, and they have so many VODs to go against Knights. Like, we really need to see something from Knights here to take it to LFO on their map pick.
As we head into Clubhouse, LFO versus Pittsburgh Knights. LFO on the verge potentially of their first 2-0 this season. Knights, well, they don't want to be on the verge of a 0-2. Who's going to be correct in this prediction? Draw, LFO? We're about to find out. And I also just want to bring up, just for your sake, Dev, guess the predictions that Guz and Raven picked here for this series.
They go LFO win, did they?
They both went LFO. They are now actually one map away from having all their predictions correct this week.
Well, there's always tomorrow for them to stuff up, and knowing Guz and Raven, they will. So let's just give it a shade there. Ying's banned out, Thatcher's banned out, Maverick's in, Thermite's in, Ibana's in, all the hard breaches available. Yeah, I know. Imagine not having a hard breacher banned. But just to put
Echo?
this, yeah, probably Echo or Maestro is my guess. Maybe a Valkyrie or we've seen a few Valk bans, but yeah, probably the Echo or the Maestro. But just to take a step back and think about the standings, right? Coming into this playday, Sinister, Knights, and LFO were all tied at 9 points. Ferox, after winning their map, has gotten themselves onto 9 points as well tonight. But LFO have jumped ahead of the rest of the pack at 12 points. They'll be sitting in 4th place on the standings currently. But they will be tied with points to TBD. If LFO win this, they're going to be 3rd place in Six Masters. Can you imagine LFO, the team that came through the open qualifier, being in 3rd place, only just behind Elevate and Wildcard?
I mean, but they just continue to surprise week in, week out. You say it now, and I'm not surprised. You say it at the start of the season, and you're flabbergasted. But it has been a close season.
Crazy stuff. And man, it just, I mean, I feel like LFO have got to have earned a lot of fans because they've really gained my respect, and I think the respect of a lot of teams in the league here. These guys are really strong players, but more than that, they are a strong team, and they play like a pro-level team here. They don't play like they've just come up from T2. They play like they've been hanging out with the big boys for a long time. They do their homework, and I don't know who it is that's really instrumental for LFO in preparing strategies and counter strategies, but I was going to give them a tip of the hat because they have been really stepping up their game in the Six Masters and rivaling these other greats in ANZ.
CCTV and Cash.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb.
I think you can probably see the Maverick up on Kennel's balcony, try and take down that reinforced wall eventually. Of course, as you said, we've got some hard breaches available in this map now. Although with the Mirror and Valkyrie bans, a bit of the intel gathering has been taken away.
Yeah, and I mean, just touching on those bans for a second, we do have the Thatcher taken out. So that will, while there's no hard breaches ban, the Thatcher ban, which is something that enables hard breach, will just change the way that the attackers have to do things. In this case, it'll really just be enforcing the Maverick. With Thatcher banned, the best way to deal with a wall like this is Maverick. Otherwise, you have to do all kinds of awkward things going downstairs. And I also want to point out the way that Nasty is using his smoke babes to try to challenge this Maverick. Try and do as much damage as possible to the Maverick as he's opening up the holes. The second set goes out, and Strider will have to choose between actively mavericking this or just waiting for the smoke to dissipate. So it does delay some good time.
Still 2 minutes remaining left. I mean, yeah, he's still got the decision. I think he'll probably go back in for another go. Try and get this wall down. And it just does seem like... Well, I was going to say, it does seem like they're going to throw another smoke out and just continue to try and delay this for as long as possible. It does get it from what I saw before he drops down, so at least gets the wall finished off, which, from what I was watching last week, there were a few Maverick players actually struggling to get that. Sometimes pieces of the wall can get stuck and it doesn't quite break that easily.
Yeah. Oh, it's difficult to do, but Strider knows what he's doing clearly. Ooh, an engagement likely to occur here. Angmo and Juicy downstairs. Angmo decides better of it, comes back to site, or does he? He's tempted of hanging around here in lounge.
Did he fake the barbed wire there, maybe expecting to think that he's continued to push all the way up and now just slowly pushes back down.
Juicy's watching the angle. Angmo has to be careful not to get too overzealous here. The Buck is such a... Oh, no! Expects he's on the other side of the shelf. Doesn't realize Juicy's lying in wait. He does finish off Angmo. One of the more common counters to the Buck playing in this position is to open up the wall of stock so that the Buck player is exposed to the bar side, but LFO decided not to go for that, and you're going to have to deal with Juicy blocking from below and flushing out these positions in cash.
Falling apart for LFO now. After losing Angmo, they've still got control of Kennels as well. That does Knights, so they can push in from both sides. Nasty's able to get Hayward. And Hills does get Juicy, not before Strider just pushes in from Kennels and picks up the double onto Mims and Nasty. Hills in a 1 versus 3. This is winnable. Strider, though, catches him off guard. There's actually a 1v1 right at the end. There was a player injured for Knights, so Strider electing to not go for the plant and go for it instead.
Yeah, smart move there for Strider. Strong round from him, opening up the main wall, getting in for the plant and finishing off that one. But I think, for me, the key to that round was Juicy on the Buck. Being able to go below, open up some of the key positions in stock, which lead to cash, the bomb site itself. Typically where you'll see a lot of anchors play. Not only opening up those angles, but then taking out Angmo, who was on the flank. And then, I think he got another kill, I can't remember which player it was, through those holes as well. Really helped out. And if I'm LFO right now, I'm starting to think, okay, if we're going to go back to cash at some point, we really need to make sure we can kill that Buck, or at least put him under extra pressure. And like I'd mentioned earlier, I think that opening up the holes in the wall between bar and stock, little low holes, just ankle height, so that the Buck is standing in there, you'll be able to see his feet from bar. That's a really nice way just to contest that.
Down the basement. And this is where the vertical control, that first floor, is going to be important. Having the hard breach of Maverick and Havana certainly makes things a little bit easier here for Knights. Clubhouse is interesting where, from what the games I've been watching as Six Masters, it can be 50-50 in terms of attacking and defending. It's not give or take, but it's defender-sided map or attacker-sided.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, we see so much variety. I know a lot of the time people say, oh yes, Clubhouse, Kafe, defender-sided maps, but then we see, you know, crazy games. For example, that last game ended up being, what, there was a 1 round difference, and it was actually just slightly attacker-favored.
Yeah.
But we've seen earlier, in fact, all of tonight's been attacker-favored.
Really attacking
Still changed. Yeah, it's good. Keeps you awake, you know?
I mean, they do say defense is the best offense, but I guess sometimes offense is also pretty good offense, if you know what I mean.
You're a poet, Xenox. You really are.
Yeah.
So,
say.
no Kaid charges on these hatches. Kaid electing not to be used, despite that Thatcher ban. Thought process from LFO is just, well, Strider is going to open up those hatches with the Maverick Torch, even if we Electroclaw them, so rather bring something else, and that something else is a Goyo. We saw Mims placing his shields, the Vulcans around blue, preventing a blue push. Going to take a bit of util from Knights to be able to clear those out if they decide to push that side. Is Heels really going to contest this? Oof, ambitious.
I mean, it would be a mistake from Strider if he's blowtorching and giving him his position away at the same time by blowtorching and standing in the open holes that he's creating. So I think that's maybe what Hills was trying to see if maybe he wasn't quite from the top floor.
It was an attempt at the impact trick from Sogs. Ooh, are we going to get to see... Oh no, he's just making a prone hole. There is a way you can actually use one Hibana pellet to make a crouch hole, but I guess Dino decides he doesn't need to do that. Yeah, I think that was quite pivotal, the kill onto Sogs, because Dino didn't use any extra X-Kairos. None of them were denied from Sogs, and usually it's quite easy to impact trick that hash. So not only is it a player down, but also really good utility efficiency from the Knights.
Really opened up this first floor. Bottom floor. For a control into basement. Push to come soon though. 40 seconds.
Oh! No!
Whoa, straight up. That's a mistake.
Oh god.
It's okay. Mistakes happen. It's how you fix your mistakes that matter more than anything. This might just delay the push though. Yeah, they've got no time to worry about being delayed though. 30 seconds remaining. Arlo. Better nade from Hayward, at least showing how it's done with the nades. 20 seconds left.
15
Arlo
seconds left.
keen on this blue push, but all the utility's gone. Pushing on in, he might actually be able to find something. Plank goes down. Arlo pushing in as well. Knights do close it out, just forcing that plant down and cleaning up in the post.
Well, I mean, you can use time as a resource. Not everything has to be done at the very beginning of the round. You leave things to the last second, but as long as you get it done, you get it done. Knights on attack right now have looked to be very patient on their offense, not rushing. And they played basement pretty well in the end. Church, Arsenal room, we go again for a second try. It's not looking like a decent defense at the moment from LFO. Definitely not as convincing as they were on Kafe.
Yeah, and I'm still a bit confused by some of these picks. Like, what is that bandit accomplishing on a church defense? Because what are you going to do? Is it just for the church wall? I'm confused. Like, if you're going to bring some kind of wall denial, bring a Kayut. I mean, you're bringing the Kayut as well. Surely the mute would be just as effective. The only reason you would really bring a bandit is to bandit trick, but Knights are showing no intention of pushing church wall with the thermite charge or a Hibana pellet that you would need to bandit trick. So, and Thatcher's ban as well. So you don't need a bandit trick. Just chuck him down static. So I'm pretty puzzled here by the bandit pick. I mean, he's got a good gun. He's got a C4, but you know, so does quite a few other operators that maybe could bring some other utility. Main change here from LFO. Oh, sorry, you go.
No. I was going to say, what you're saying here is Hills is going to go and get a 3K now.
I mean, surely, like, he's got to. The only thing that I think Bandit would bring here that Mute doesn't is he's a 3-speed and he has a slightly better gun. And a C4. Wait, Mute has a C4 too, so I don't know. I'm confused, man. Well, I guess they are roaming, though. Maybe Hills is just comfort on the Bandit. It's pretty unusual though. Often we see when there's a roam on Clubhouse, it's a really heavy roam with, you know, lots of mute jammers and Mozzie drones and reinforcements and hatches open, but neither Sogs nor Hills has a shotgun. Ungmo's going to find an opening pick. That's Arlo. I guess that was a spawn peek outside of New Blue. Yep, indeed it was. Yeah, really loose roam. Very unconventional these days.
Would you say it's an interesting roam?
No, I don't say interesting. That word is actually blacklisted from my dictionary.
It's intriguing, I guess.
It's intriguing. I'm intrigued.
Plenty of time. Although for the first time, at least on Clubhouse, LFO may just have a bit of an advantage after taking out Arlo. There's Sophia Meister. Hills, now's the time to get that 3K I said you were going to get to prove Dev wrong on the Bandit.
Surely he gets this.
I don't think he's realized Hills has pushed up. Oh, that was a bit too aggressive. What are you doing? Oh.
Damn, son. Something a storyline we haven't really touched on tonight is Hills actually was a former player on this team. On Knights. He played with them for a very long time. He was actually, him and Stiggs were the two brothers playing on this team. So at least him, Hills, Stiggs, and Hayward go way, way back.
At least it evens it up now for the Knights.
Yeah, good point. And I guess I have still the right to be critical of Hills' operator choice. He didn't really bring much utility. Could have just played mute, I guess. Once again, Hibana pellets used in dirt, and yeah, like you were saying. Plus, I think they also got the kitchen hatch open successfully. Knights didn't do a hard clear of the top floor. You can see Stratter is still just cautious. I believe Sogs, who was the other roamer, is now back on site, and he's going to find one. There you go. It's the blue rush, and 2 quick kills for defense. LFO holding on, and Sogs good for another, man. Sogs are nasty. Just like peek everything and kill everybody. That's one way to do it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Offense is the best defense.
I thought you were saying offense is the best offense.
Yeah, well, both. It goes both ways, Dev. Okay, don't question.
How can
This.
two things be the best? That doesn't make sense. It's a
CCTV and
tautology.
cash. Okay. All right.
I see you trying to change the subject.
Well, speaking of changing things, Hills does change to the Jaeger, but then now Angmo picks up the Bandit. And not too much really changed there in the defense.
The Bandit makes sense on this bomb site if you want to try and Bandit trick the main
Defenders,
wall.
protect your bombs
Except
from
if they
being
bring a
used by
Maverick and
attackers.
counter your Bandit trick anyway. So I guess you could try Bandit trick the con wall, but Knights didn't really.
So what you're
show
saying
any
is it makes
interest in
sense,
con.
but it's just you're still not a fan.
No, I'm not a fan. I mean, I like Bandit, great operator, but ban Maverick if you want to use Bandit. Plus, Thatcher banning, having Thatcher banned means you just may as well bring Mute. Maybe I'm just a bot and I don't know what I'm talking about, but I really believe that Mute would be more effective than
10
Bandit.
seconds remaining.
And just more versatile, to be honest. Covers more walls as well.
5 seconds left before insertion.
Lessons with Dev. I'm loving it.
Attackers' objective is to locate a bomb.
Well, let's see how Ungmo goes Bandit tricking this Maverick, which isn't going to work, but I don't know. We'll see.
Oh, I mean, who said he's going to try? He might have something else up his sleeve.
Maybe he's just chucking in their static to deal damage to Strider. I think that's most likely, because if Strider gets too close to electricity, he'll take a tiny bit of damage. You couple that with the smoke grenades from Nasty, and that's quite a bit of damage you can deal. Maybe take Strider down quite low. Strider's been pretty efficient with this. You can see right here, though, Nasty is worried because if he tries to throw the gas grenade onto the wall, it's going to get electrified. So he's just going to shoot those batches anyway, and Ungmo has 0 utility. And the Bandit is even more pointless.
I won't lie, I'm just loving this little
I'm throwing shade.
rant. This rant you have with Bandit. I feel bad. Bandit just goes home to his wife and kids and says, Dev's roasted me again.
Bomb located by attackers.
I think you're right, though, in terms of just, like, trying to catch Strider a little bit. He actually did catch him on the very first round. He did take a little bit of damage, but it was so negligible. More damage from these smokes, though, onto Strider. And at least buying some time on that Kennel's wall as well. Minute 40 remaining. Knights, though, do have a little bit of control in that first floor stock room.
Yeah, and Juicy, once again, we talked about how he was perhaps a
Bomb has been
linchpin
located.
of the Knights attack the last time round, and LFO haven't really done anything extra from what I can see to try to contest him. I don't know if they open up any holes looking downwards, but Sogs is roaming. If there were the holes pre-opened between Stock and Bar, then Sogs would be able to kill Juicy right now, but not to be. In fact, Strider likely to drone out Sogs. It looks like, despite what I was saying, Knights is in fact going for a construction master bedroom side push, so the Bandit could be impactful, but he's not in any position to try to Bandit trick the wall. Hills, what are you doing, mate? Where did he come from? I guess Spider-Man just comes down through and knifes Juicy. That's all right.
He's going to run out as well. Maybe see if he can spot anyone at Kennels. No. He's got to make sure he gets back to the site and really help out here. I mean, I think I love the way you said, where did he come from? Juicy probably said the exact same thing. 35 seconds
ran out the
remaining.
breach.
And Knights are going to lose Dino to Mims. Angmo. They're watching this Kennel's entrance wall. Is able to get Arlo. Oh, this has gone horribly wrong for Knights now. After they had control, 1 versus 1. Strider solo. Mims the
15
solo
seconds left.
over LFO. 15 seconds. Does Mims allow this
10 seconds to go.
plant to go down? It looks like that's going to be the case. Strider's got no choice at this point. Mims will start to push in. The nade. Oh! Doesn't get it the first one. But does the second one. Oh my god. That first one, I was like, oh no.
Strider, I choose you! It's a Pokemon reference, Sanox. I'm not sure if you
Oh, really?
not sure if you get that one. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we call those impact grenades Pokeballs. And yeah, now Mims can actually use Strider in his next battle if he goes to a gym. I'm not a
By the
Pokemon guy,
way-
I don't really know much. I'm talking out of my
No bandit this round unless it gets 6 picks. I mean, are you happy? Is Dev happy now?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy. Look, the funny thing is, like, there was one valid use case for Bandit that round, and it was to Bandit trick the wall between Cash and Con. And I originally said, I don't think Pittsburgh Knights are going to push that. And then they did, and they did Hibana it. But Angmo, who was playing the Bandit, was holding top red anyway. And if he did try to Bandit trick, then he would have gotten countered by the Buck player who was downstairs, unless if it was after Hills had taken him out. So, yeah. I don't know.
Well,
Good
first
times.
time that we're going to be seeing Bedroom and Gym here.
Yeah,
4 rounds in.
not wrong. Pretty good bomb site, to be honest. I mean, still not favored, but definitely a lot of good ways to deal with it. We often see the castle employed, a lot of deployable shield. Deployable shield from the Wamai here, placed in logistics office. With a two-way angle, you can use it from safe. I think it's called it's called secret. It's called secret stash. Or you can head on over and use it from logistics to contest the master bedroom side. Versatile. Where's that? Bomb pellet.
Whichever.
Okay. Yeah, so Strider's just going to do the same thing he was doing on the cash attacks, open up this CCTV wall with the Maverick. Nice little wiggly line there. Mute Jammer is there, so you can't use Hibana pellets on this. That's just banned, of course. Angmo is actually really close on the left side of that wall. I just have to be careful.
Let's just take Kennels into CCTV cache, pushing from that way. Then you've also got the balcony, or bedroom balcony. They want to play from there. 2 minutes, a lot of time, but a lot of the direction coming from that eastern side. Kennels balcony. Angmo just holding top red though, just in case they want to rush through here in a blaze of glory.
Wall fully open now. Angmo is vulnerable to a quick peek. Gonna take a bit of cover behind this wall. Oh, spots the player,
Whoa.
but it's a great shot from Arlo. Once again, a little tap with that suppressor on the LMG. Few Hibana pellets, but the Mute Jammer jams all but just the far right. Doesn't matter for Juicy and Arlo though. They're gonna go deep, take control of Cash, put it in their own hands. In fact, Juicy's just gonna keep on heading on through office. Might catch Sogs off guard.
A bomb has been located.
Sure, with Bob high though, giving away the information that is in logistic. Minute remaining. A lot of time still at hand considering Knights' position. Dino and Juicy both finding a pick. There's only 2 left now for LFO. 2v4 was their specialty on Kafe. 2v5 will have to be their specialty here. Pixel available there from Nasty. Does get Strider low, but not enough to get the job done. 1v3. Sogs has got a bit of a chance here. Everyone's quite banged up on the side of Knights. It won't take too much. Pushing through construction now just to his right-hand side. Never mind, caught out. Knights win the round again.
Now, Arlo likes to go pew-pew with his little gun thing. LMG, pew-pew. That's my analysis.
I think most guns in this game go pew-pew. I mean, I may be wrong.
Yeah, but I like it when Arlo does it because it's the suppressed LMG, and I just think that's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, if you want to read into what happened that round for LFO,
Yeah.
seriously, once Knights took control of Cash, which was basically just winning a 1v1, after opening up some walls, winning a 1v1 onto Angmo, who was trying to hold that angle from top red. After that, they just went full send. It was Juicy and Arlo, kept pushing all the way into Con, and then Juicy all the way into logistics office, and yeah, just kills kept going from there. It took ground without really too much contention at all. LFO didn't have a great response for it, but in the last round of the half, LFO have a chance to cling back a few defenses. And they're going to start, well, they're going to finish it, I guess, their half here on the basement, which they have been successful with 50% of the time. And they bring the bandit again as well. Yeah, I'm actually sometimes accurate at maths. I don't have an exact percentage on how often I'm accurate with my maths though.
10 seconds to go.
It went to 3-3 on Kafe. Well, we go to 3-3 here on Clubhouse. It's been a very even series between LFO and Knights. Knights would love to take the advantage, of course, going into their defensive side. Of course, they're playing their backs against the wall a little bit here in Clubhouse. Down 1-0. They won't want to lose this series 2-0 to LFO.
And one of the changes I've liked to see here from LFO is bringing that mute on this basement defense. Super common, mute and Mozzie, and sometimes Castle, very frequently Castle. We call it SSG style roam. Info denial roam. A couple of rotations also opened up thanks to mute shotgun, but because not all that utility, all the drone denial was placed upstairs, it's pretty easy for Knights to drone this out. And they get good control on that top floor. Hills decides to play in a bit of a cheeky corner, but if he gets droned out, he's going to be a dead man for sure. Just banking on the fact that Dino's going to push in willy-nilly. Probably not going to happen, though. These kinds of plays, really high-risk plays, haven't worked out so well so far for Hills. In fact, Sogs is nearby as well in stock, but he's making quite a bit of noise sprinting around. Shoots Arlo in the back. I don't know what happened there. Wait, no, other way around. Arlo takes him out, and Dino finishes off Hills. And yeah, those are your roamers. Good night.
Well, they both get caught off together. Both Hills and Sogs. And the bandit pick continues to elude the thoughts as to why for Dev. One more extra round there. And this makes it really tough now for LFO to tie this map up through into the half. 3 on site now. They've got no choice. They've lost those roamers. Knights are going to have full control of this first floor. Mim's at least able to get juicy with the C4 as Knights continue to just breach through. They usually push in at the last second, all at once, try and overwhelm LFO, but one of the rounds it was actually basement where we saw LFO kind of counter that as they were funneling in, picking up 3 very quick kills in the span of about 5 seconds. They're going to have to do the same thing here again.
There's another kill for Hayward. Finds out Mims in kitchen. Doing a box job here. Oh! Spots out that player as well, but caught through on the nade, doesn't get it. 40 seconds left. Another grenade in the pocket. He's going to try and bank that off the floor here. What are you doing, Ungmo? So much aggression from LFO, and it's just unfounded. Nasty in a 1 versus 4. No ammo left, and just harassed into nothing. Knights come away 4-2 on their attacking half.
I think that just shows the power of having that vertical control, having that first floor control. They can do as they please. They can open up, especially with the sledge, as much as they want. And as you mentioned, really nothing that Angmo could do. He was harassed. And really felt like LFO as a team were harassed that game from the very get-go with the roamers, Hills and Sogs getting obliterated. They got collapsed on so quickly and so early on. It made it very difficult. But we switched sides, and it's attacking time now for LFO as they look to bring Clubhouse back towards their favor.
Attackers need to locate and defuse as many bombs as they can.
I hope LFO can muster something on their attacks because haven't been hugely impressed by their defenses this map. In fact, coming into this map, you know, I was the one saying if LFO's going to lose a map this series, it's Kafe. And with LFO's track record 7-5 over Wildcard, 7-2 over Elevate, undefeated at 6 Masters this season, and the fact that they have 3 VODs of Knights so far this season, I thought that LFO was going to be really strong on Clubhouse, but I mean, it might be too early to call it, but I think I was wrong.
10 seconds left before insertion.
LFO haven't looked good on their defenses. These aren't just Knights really outplaying LFO. I hate to be critical, but I just have been...
Locate and defuse a bomb.
I just haven't really believed in these LFO defenses, and I hope that they have some really strong attacks to pull out to compensate for that.
I believe in their offense, though. I think that it only takes 2 or 3 rounds to just sort of get back into this in terms of the scoreboard pressure. That is in favor of Knights right now. But then it's also on the flip side. If Knights win this very first defense hold and it's 5-2, it just makes it so much more difficult to come back from that sort of position. So this first attacking round for LFO is so crucial. This is going to be their chance to show Knights what they can do on offense.
Hayward does find that first pick. It's Ungmo once again, caught off guard, and the Capitao Pretty good utility loss there. Mainly for clearing blue, but not essential utility. It's not a hard breach, which is the most important thing, and it's not explosives either for dealing with utility like these Goyo shields. So I'd say that's probably the operator that it's okay to lose early.
A bomb has been located.
Still not ideal, that said. I think LFO is still trying to figure out how serious this roam is from Knights, or if he even exists. And in fact, it looks to be just a few mute jammers scattered around. No utility whatsoever. Hills is just going to clarify that there's no players roaming as the rest of the team starts to work on dealing with these players on the bomb site, or I guess the next steps, which is opening up some hatches and avenues onto the bomb site. It's going to be on Nasty to get rid of this hatch. Got to be careful though, that Kaid playing underneath it needs to be careful not to expose himself.
Stark contrast though to what we saw from Knights, and well, more so even LFO's defense. LFO electing to have roamers and push around the map, make it a bit harder for Knights. Whether it worked or not is one thing, but from what we're seeing, Knights, they're just electing to hold all 5 in basement, allow this first floor to be taken, and that could be disastrous. They were very fortunate to get Angmo though, so 4v5 makes it difficult, but giving up so much control of that first floor so early on. 40 seconds, a lot of time. You can see the floor now starting to be opened up. Mims though did take a bit of damage. They are running out of time. Knights have still got 5 alive, so it's probably still in their favor for this round as we go into the last 30 seconds.
Sog's looking to peek on through that. All the utility basically wasted for LFO now. They're going to funnel through this church doorway. Sog's watching for this flank, but he gets taken out there. Frag's going all the way of Knights. It's just Nasty, and damn. I think that was a 4 versus nothing. Nasty was the only one to find a kill, I think, there for his team, and it was a team kill. So, yeah, Knights looking so good on that defense. LFO, bit of a mess.
And that's unfortunate too, because now it just seems potentially Knights might just run away with this one here in Clubhouse and we get another draw. And for LFO, you know, they played so well on Kafe. They had so many clutch moments, both defense and offense, and deservedly won that map. And you said that was the map that you would have given to Knights, and you would have said LFO take out Clubhouse, and yet it hasn't been a performance I think they would want to remember on Clubhouse. But in saying that, Knights have played this really, really well, both offense and defense so far.
Attackers need to locate and defuse his
Yeah, it rings true with Knights' previous performance. 7-2 over Kanga, 8-7 over Sinister, which Sinister's been a good Clubhouse team. A lot of close games for Sinister on this map, but you know, with 8-7 over Sinister, 7-2 over Kanga, but then there's that outlier, the 3-7 to Ferox when Pittsburgh Knights lost this in their first playday of 6 Masters. I saw weakness there. The fact that they had to push Sinister so hard, and the fact that they lost to Ferox, I really thought that Knights just wouldn't be this polished, especially relative to LFO. I mean, it's kind of 2 sides to this coin, right? I thought LFO was going to be nuts on this map. And I thought Knights was going to be good, but flawed. And I was wrong. I mean, LFO, I've seen a few things that I've been impressed by on this map, but really quite few. This doesn't look like a strong map for LFO. They're not playing it like it is. And for Knights,
yeah,
it's really the opposite.
Yeah. LFO have not taken that momentum that they had from Kafe into Clubhouse. It's noticeable, but at the same time, Knights just have sort of found themselves again here on Clubhouse. I mean, and I said it at the end of the post-match after Kafe. Going into Clubhouse, Knights would not have been daunting this task. They would have felt very confident coming into Clubhouse. They would have backed themselves in and said, oh, we can win this. We probably should have won Kafe. And I think what's going to be interesting in the post-match interviews, if it does turn out to be a Knights win, is their thoughts on this probably should have been a 2-0 to them. But that's not how it played out on Kafe, of course. And who knows? Maybe still might not play out that way here in Clubhouse. But everyone's still to play. Can't count out LFO just yet.
Of course, something we haven't talked about tonight, Knights. They're still reeling from that roster change, losing Stigs to Fnatic, bringing back Arlo from the bench. I mean, he was completely removed from the team. Bring him back in again. Now, Arlo's really been stepping it up, and more so, Knights as a whole, look like the strong team that we had expected them to be, even with their former roster. Now holding on to this bedroom defense. Not a lot of progress made for LFO. Still haven't even opened the CCTV wall. Maverick has opened up the spar deck wall. It's very useful, but Hayward prepped with a nitro cell. Gonna throw that out. Ungmo walks the wrong way. Hayward finds nothing with it. Sog's trying to find an angle through the hatch.
Those are the little victories, though, that I think LFO need to go their way. The C4 missing from Hayward. Dino finds a double. Hayward able to keep putting that pressure on the window as well. And the little victories become no victories in the end for LFO after losing those 2 players so easily. Angmo at least able to find Hayward, but he's immediately traded back by Dino, who's now up to a triple kill this game. Go ahead, give him the ace, boys.
So messy. Kills everywhere. Dino, as you said, doing well. Sog's trying to push up from the main stairs. About to walk into a 3-way crossfire. Those never go your way, mate. Mim's last man standing. How much damage can he do? Gets the injury on the Dino, but he is nicely finished off for Knights. They just casually stroll over to match point.
Yeah. I mean, literally, like this, you know, I don't want to sort of fake hype this up here, but Knights have just decimated LFO right now on Clubhouse. Like, it doesn't feel close. Kafe was a struggle. It was a contest, a real gritty match that was a war of attrition both ways. 50-50 fights that favored Kafe 3-4 times maybe over the course of that match. And it was sort of Knights kept trying to plug away, fight back, even though things weren't quite going their way. But this 2-6, it feels like could easily end up 7-2, which, to no surprise, Dev, was the scoreline that was against Kanga from Knights last week.
And in fact, the same scoreline that LFO took on this map against Elevate, a team that you'd think would really be doing well against LFO. So, all right, it might be we continue the trend from last week with teams trading each other's map picks, but LFO, I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt here. Something has still got to be left in the tank. Surely there are pages of the strat book which haven't yet been turned over, because we talked earlier tonight in our first game about how perhaps what really made the difference for Ferox was just not winning winning their one-on-ones against Elevate. And that's not what we're seeing here. You know, I'm not surprised LFO's losing because they're just getting rolled in 1v1s. I just don't... It just doesn't look like this is a good map for them. They're strategic, they're pushing, their operator selection, how they're dealing with these obstacles, it just doesn't seem right. Dino's got the confidence here to go for a spawn peek on match point.
Oh.
And get it as well. He injures Ungmo. Well, that's going to waste a lot of time.
That's what you want, though, on match point, is to be that aggressive. Make it so much harder now for LFO. The doubts in their mind. Look how far back they're playing at Kennels. Like, they are scared. Expecting Knights to be aggressive and very confident in this match point round now that they are so far ahead. They can maybe do some more risky things. But this has just been such a bizarre sequence of events here on Clubhouse. You mentioned this looks like a poor map for LFO. Well, when they 7-5 to wildcard, 7-2 against Elevate. Like, this is supposed to be a decent map for LFO, and yet they're just about to be completely swept off away. 7-2 if this round continues the way that it's heading, with Sogs going out early. 2 minutes remaining. Knights in the driver's seat.
So what is the situation here where LFO bring it back in a 3 versus 5? Ungmo low HP. Knights not a lick of damage to any of their players. Hills, Nasty, and Ungmo pushing from the Kennels side with all of his soft breaches dead. Ungmo's trying to just shoot off the soft part of this wall. He finally gets it done. Nasty looking to push Garage is the next step. Player on the rafters he's got to deal with. If he peeks in as well to take that fight, he's got to deal with the lounge angle. And there's so much barbed wire, even if he does take Garage, he'll likely get exposed to the cash angle as he walks up. I really have to see a big play from Hills or Ungmo here in order to make this work. And Hills is just so lost. Gonna jump back down, maybe push up top red. Knights aren't giving LFO a damn thing here.
And the thing as well is Angmo on Kennel's balcony. I mean, he's so low as well. There's no way he can push in. Up in rafters. Nasty's low here. Won't take too much to finish him. He can't push up that far high. It'll be too slow, and he's got the diffuser as well. It's down. This match is over. Knights are going to take this 7-2 cleanly on Clubhouse. I'm a bit surprised here. I'm not going to lie, Dev.
And poor Angmo left with nothing but his pride to salvage. 30 seconds left. There's only one way you can end this, Angmo, and that's by giving it your best shot. Player runs outside, bit of BM, does a bit of damage to it. Surely they're going to re-peak that. Knights want to tell LFO that they mean business. A 7-2, and Angmo's not going to give him the satisfaction. Again whiffs his shots. Surely he loses this. Knights want to show them who's the boss. Another kill, and he gets another one. Finally, they hunt him down. And Knights take the map incredibly dominantly, a 7-2.
Well, I think the scoreline definitely tells the story in all aspects there on Clubhouse. 7-2. Knights, convincingly, and a stark contrast to what we saw on Kafe, where, as I mentioned before, it really was a struggle between both of the teams. And I can't wait to get their thoughts in the post-match interviews to come as well, Devin, I think definitely Knights, the mindset of how do they feel after that series, knowing they probably could have taken it 2-0, more so than LFO could have.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like Knights had such a strong position. And imagine if these maps were the other way round, and Knights won the first map, Clubhouse, and then we went on to Kafe, and LFO just edged out those victories thanks to the clutches. If you're Knights, you'd feel robbed. And I think that maybe it was the fact that Knights had that blunder on Kafe, their own map pick, and they lost those advantageous rounds that gave them the fire they needed to come back so strongly on Clubhouse.
I think you're right in the sense of feeling robbed, but you've still got to give credit for those 2v4s that happened in favor of LFO. At the end of the day, you've still got to get the job done and clutch that out. It's not an easy situation or an easy thing to win. So how much of it is like sort of choke? Like Knights will probably feel like they really threw that away on Kafe, whereas LFO will feel like they really thoughtfully won that and earned that map win on Kafe. So in the end, I think both teams sort of walk away happy. Knights probably feel like they left more on the table though.
Yeah, I mean, both of these teams, I'm just really surprised. I feel like LFO just won so many unfavorable positions on Kafe, and Knights are going to be disappointed with that. But also LFO 7-2 on Clubhouse. I really thought that was one of your best maps, and that's all you've got to show for it. That's a disappointment as well.
But I also think, to just sort of reel off here on LFO, coming into 6 months season, not a lot was expected. And yet now we're sitting in a position here where we're saying they may have sort of thrown a decent position away, and we were maybe expecting them to do well, right? So I think that in itself is a small victory on the season as a whole for how LFO has been going. They still draw. They're the king of draws. They'll continue that going into at least next week. So I think that they can feel like, okay, we're that one step closer. We didn't quite bring it on Clubhouse. Put in the work, come back next week and potentially get that 2-0, which next week, looking at it, they've got Ferox. I think that's going to be a really, really good matchup between both teams. Both teams will feel like they should be able to come away with 2-0. They both should feel confident.
Yeah, Ferox has been a team that I've seen going all over the place. Really great performance tonight in our first game. LFO, and they started so strong on Kafe. I think they've got to be happy with that, even if Clubhouse didn't pan out the way that they hoped.
We do have our first interview for LFO Knights. It is the coach, Enigma, from LFO. Welcome, Enigma. Love the suit. Looking good.
Thank you. Spiffing it up every single week as per usual.
How many at what point are you actually going to run out of suits? That's my question. Have you actually got one for all of your 7 games?
I have one for all the games, and even a special one when we make it to LAN.
Oh yeah, fighting words,
absolutely.
mate.
Absolutely.
So you guys, coming into this week, we know that you had some big words, you had some big claims, and I think you really showed your fans that they put their faith in you very well. With the first map, Kafe, you won so many deficits. But then Clubhouse, what happened there? You guys, previously that was a really strong map for you guys, and something just didn't click tonight.
I wasn't in the comms for tonight, so I couldn't hear what was going on. I could only see what was being presented in front of me. And while, we did extensively, we put notes, we watched their VODs and everything like that. Unfortunately, we just didn't work to what we were prepping for. There were very common things that they were doing that, each individual member of the team had specifically pointed out together. And, when it happened, it just wasn't translating onto the field. And I'm sure there's going to be some sort of, excuse or other, but with the team, I mean, we take the loss and we move on, because at the end of the day, we can't delve on this. We just need to be, heading straight forward, just like on every other game that we've played.
Enigma, I'm going to just take you back to Kafe here, where there's a bit more happy memories. What goes into the decision there that you guys feel like at the start of that round, you're playing really, really well, and then do you feel like you really won that, or was it Knights choking it a little bit? Like, how confident do you feel how you guys played on Kafe?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like, if I don't back my team, if I don't believe in them, then there's no point in me being here in the first place. There's no point having a coach. There's no point having that belief in my players, because then, why should they trust me? Why should they listen to me? I back my team in everything, from a 1v5 to a 2v4. And at the end of the day, if the Knights should have won it, they would have won it. They didn't win it because they didn't play it well. My team did, on the other hand. Just the way it is.
I love it. That's 100% correct, Enigma. Thank you so much. Best of luck next week against Ferox.
Fantastic. Thanks for your time, guys. I'll see you guys next week.
I think he's spot on there, Dev, with what he said there. 100% agree that at the end of the day, the opportunity, if Knights should have won it, they should have won it.
Never ceases to disappoint me, that man. Fighting words, and yeah, I love that. And so much faith in his team. Also, the fact that he's got a suit for every single playday, that's dedication to the cause. I respect that. It's more than I've got.
I'm interested to see. He was so confident that they're going to make LAN that he's got a suit ready for LAN.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm all I'm picturing is like some bright pink flamingo style suit that stands out from a mile away. I'd love it.
I hope so. I hope so. Now, I mean, we'll check the standings before we close tonight, but I'm pretty sure that these teams, with trading these maps, have put themselves neck and neck, and they're still fighting for that 4th place to head to playoffs. So definitely something to keep in mind.
Well, we're going to go over to the Maverick main from this series, Strider from the Knights, for an interview. Firstly, Strider, congratulations on the win on Clubhouse. How are you boys feeling after that one?
We're feeling quite good after that Clubhouse 7-2. Felt good.
Yeah, wonderful. Nice tie there. I like it.
I heard that was in.
Yeah, seems to be. So, mate, well, I know you guys just came off a really strong win on Clubhouse, and I do want to touch on that. But first, I just want to go back to Kafe. I know you guys have been pretty strong on Kafe, but there were just some situations that didn't seem to go your way. What was happening there for you guys?
Yeah, honestly, we're actually not too mad about Kafe, because we felt as though they were falling into all of our traps. In our minds, we won that map. They were only winning rounds because they were able to just win those one-on-ones in the last 15 seconds. And if that's what they need to rely on to win rounds, then we're okay with that, because we can just keep playing our game. And I think they just got the lucky draw with those 15 seconds, but any other time, it goes our way. So we're really happy with the way that we played on Kafe, even though they beat us.
I love the fighting words, probably the embodiment of Enigma there as well. Going on to Clubhouse, though, obviously you guys wouldn't have been down at all, right? Going into that map, you would have felt quite confident, and I think it really showed in your play style.
Yeah, I mean, we knew how they were going to try and play. It was obvious that when they gave us map control, we would just watch our flanks and they would just give away the first pick. As soon as they got aggressive, it hurt us, but then once we got back on top, we found those first picks. We just found that the rounds just collapsed on top of themselves, just because they were playing so aggressive. So it's exactly what I predicted last week.
Well, Strider, I love the fighting words. Best of luck next week against Elevate and for the rest of the season.
Thanks, Xenox. Thanks, boys. Catch you later.
I've got to say, the confidence is something that you cannot underestimate for a team that comes from the coach, then down, to the captain, and then to the rest of the crew. Everyone then follows suit, and everyone plays that way. And I think, as I said, Clubhouse, it showed.
Yeah, very much so. Knights, like Strider was saying, in their minds, they won Kafe. And I think the fact that they didn't actually get that victory, they didn't get the 7 rounds they needed, the fact that they just fell short was exactly what they needed to keep the fire alive and really just make Clubhouse a serious show 7-2. So they definitely got a lot to be proud of.
Well, Playday 7 of 6 Masters certainly brought us a lot of action as we recap the results. 1-1 to 1-1, both for Elevate and Team Ferox, which really was sort of just quite literally one map apiece, Dev.
Yeah, we are actually at the exact halfway point of 6 Masters now, which is really exciting. Elevate Team Ferox was a really good one, and I think Ferox is going to be really happy they scraped away a win there. Elevate as well, you know, they've a lot of pressure on them to close out this season. LFO Knights, I mean, that's just a rivalry we're never going to forget.
No, and I think that especially the beat down on Clubhouse, but then just that war of attrition on Kafe, we got it all in this series between LFO and Pittsburgh Knights. What's interesting though is all 4 of these teams actually play each other next week. So you've got LFO versus Ferox and Knights versus Elevate. So I don't know, I just find that really, really cool. Interesting, I guess you could also say.
Oh, yes, very interesting. Draw a crisscross on this graphic and you would see what the matchups are for next week. Let's have a look at the standings and see where these teams have fallen. And this battle for the playoff spots is getting spicier by the minute. Take a look at that. Knights have actually jumped over Okami. And I'm just going to check whether that's due to their round difference when they played against... No, so they haven't actually played each other yet. So, wow, Knights jumped over Okami despite being on the same number of points. LFO's up there as well. And Sinister only 1 map win away from joining them.
Yeah, and of course, Sinister will be playing tomorrow. So Ferox have been able to keep up there, you know, with the top 6 as well. They're not, without a question, done by any means. Obviously, as you mentioned, we're only at the halfway point of the season. A lot of games still be played, and looking forward to Ferox's schedule, it does open up for a bit more opportunities for them to make a late run push for that top 4. So towards the last 2 weeks, don't be surprised if they're making a hard push there. But Okami still haven't played either. So while Pittsburgh and Elevate do jump up a little bit here on the standings, of course, there are still games to be played tomorrow.
That's it. Wildcard, Okami, and Sinister and Kanga will all play tomorrow. So that really gives Wildcard the chance to run away with the lead away from Elevate. Okami also to jump back over into second place, where I'm sure they're going to be gunning for. So a lot of possibilities here, a lot of movement that can happen in the standings. That said, we've had half the season. That does give us a really good indication of where some of the teams have gone. That said, typically at the start of the season, that's when you see the more unbalanced matchups, because the top seed teams like Elevate Wildcard tend to play the bottom seed teams like LFO. But we've seen so far this season that just because it's a high seed versus a low seed doesn't mean the result is clear cut. And as we head into the final playdays, and those teams who are right next to each other on the ladder are going to be facing off, it's going to get dire.
Well, I don't think I could have asked for a better introduction to 6 Masters and Rainbow Six Siege, Dev. I've had an amazing day. I hope everyone at home has been having an amazing day as well. We are going to end the show now, but of course we will be back tomorrow for Playday number 8 for 6 Masters. We'll see you then.
No thoughts left in my head. My mind's not mine and it won't forget. But you bring me back from a darkness black. It's the soul in me and the heart I am for you. It beats for you. It beats again. Oh, you bring